Just to let you know, this is going to be a part PowerPoint presentation, but a big part, I want to show the feature in the actual interface and kind of show you what you can do with schedules, or just a reminder of schedule types that people might have forgotten about them. So moving on. When we talk about Revit schedules, you find them in the View tab. Under the Create panel, there is a schedule drop-downs. You have the ability to create schedule quantities, which is the schedule that you're going to use to schedule any modeled elements in the project. You have the graphical column schedule for structural engineers. You can create material takeoffs out of Revit. I have used that feature to actually buy materials, and it is accurate, very, very extremely accurate. As long as your model, and with everything in Revit, as long as your model is accurate and is giving the correct information, the information that you get is accurate and is clean. From the schedule command, you can create your sheet list. The note block allows you to create schedules out of annotation elements. There's people that use that instead of keynotes. And then you can create, in the later releases of Revit, you can create a view list. I found that new schedule type to be incredibly useful when Autodesk put that into the software, which was about 2 or 3 years ago. Basically, and just coming back to what the concept, the criteria of a schedule is, it is a tabular display of information that is extracted of the properties in a project. A schedule can list every instance of the type of element that you're scheduling, or it can collapse multiple instances into a single row, depending on what you want to show. And you can create a schedule at any point of the design. As you make changes in the model, those changes will affect the schedule and they will be reflected in the schedule. And the big advantage of Revit is that if you delete an element from your model in any view, that element gets deleted in the schedule in real time without having to think about it. I mean, at this point, I have been working with Revit for so long that I don't even, it's just so in nature to me that that change happens automatically, that I don't have to think about it. And then schedules can be obviously added to any drawing sheet, and you can export most, I would say all of the schedules but one. You can export them to a spreadsheet program. The only schedule that you cannot export is the panel schedule. And I mean, just because panel schedules, they are a different type of schedules, okay? So as I said, you have schedule quantities, you have key schedules. I'm going to mention both of them. Material takeoffs, the note blocks. Revision schedules is another type of schedule that is very important, that is included within the title block and has to be included within the title block family. You have view lists, drawing lists, panel schedules, and graphical column schedules. So with that said, let me turn my screen over to Revit. And we are going to go, I'm going to go ahead, and in this Revit model, I'm going to go from the basics of how to create a schedule. Okay, so I'm going to go to the View tab up here. And in the View tab, you see you have the Schedule dropdown. In the Schedule dropdown, as I mentioned, you have the possibility to create schedule quantities, graphical column schedules, material takeoffs, sheet lists, note blocks, and a view list. In this webinar, I'm going to concentrate in different types of schedule quantities type of schedules. So once you start this command, notice that Revit starts starts this new schedule dialog box. In this dialog box, first of all, you have a filter list that allows you to filter the categories that you're going to be seeing. Right now I have it just set to architecture and piping. And then in this window here, you will see listed all the categories of the schedules that you can create. There are specific schedules that have added notes, like roofs. For roofs, you can create a special schedule for fascias, gutters, and roof soffits. The site schedules can also be broken up, same as the stairs, the wall schedules, and so on. I am going to go and create a door schedule. Now, when you create the door schedule, you can define the name here, or we can define the name later on. And then notice that schedules can have phases also. So you can have a schedule that is on the new construction phase or on an existing phase, and you can schedule elements that are on the existing phase. This project in particular only has those two phases, so I don't have any more phases, but it will reflect all the phases that you would have. So once I click OK here, it opens up this schedule properties dialog box. The schedule properties dialog box is a dialog box to which you will be able to come back anytime after you create the schedule and continue editing it. It is comprised of different levels. So at the top, you have different tabs, and I'm going to really quickly talk about all the tabs that you find here. It has the select available fields from, and every schedule has the option to select fields, meaning select properties parameters from doors or from room to room and project information. So you can bring into a door schedule room information, for example. And I like to point this out because this is something that sometimes people forget that you can do this. Okay, so moving down from this list, I can select whatever properties I want to have on my schedule. So I'm going to select level. And with this arrow, I start populating this window here. By doing that, I am defining here the columns that my schedules are going to have. So I'm going to add mark. I'm going to add height. I'm going to add width. Notice that the order in which I'm adding parameters, or the order in which parameters are listed here, are going to be the order of the columns in my schedule. I can change that with moving parameters up or down. Okay. I'm going to add fire rating. I'm going to add frame type. Frame material, finish. I'm going to scroll up, add comments, and I'm going to add construction type. Now, the other icons that you find here, and this is very important for me to mention, this one here, when you go and create a new parameter for within the schedule view, I click on it, it opens up project parameters. Okay, project parameters can be created within the schedule, or I can create them ahead of time. I could also pick up a shared parameter. What I like about project parameters is that when I create a project parameter and then I grab a door or any family that I assigned the project parameter to, that family will acquire the project parameter the minute I bring it into my project. And that is a very powerful feature so that I can customize my schedules without having to fumble with the families. Okay, let me cancel out of that. You can pick up parameters from a service, meaning from a cloud. You can create a calculated parameter. To create a calculated parameter, both parameters need to be included in the scheduled fields, and I can combine parameters. So if I wanted to combine width and height as one parameter, I can combine them. Okay. Right now, I just wanted to show you those icons, what they mean. If I click OK, every family, every door that is listed in my project is going to show up. Okay, as it did here. So notice that in the project browser now under schedules, the schedule node, I have my door schedule. If I select the door schedule in the properties of it, I can click on it and I can come back to the schedule properties. Okay, so schedules can be filtered, schedules can be organized, fields can be formatted. So for example, I don't want to see this column that reads level 1 like a gazillion times and level 2 like another gazillion times. So I'm going to select that level parameter and make it into a hidden field. And then I am going to organize my schedules by level, and I'm going to create a blank line, and I'm going to add a footer. What does that do to my program? It tells it that it's going to bunch up all the doors that I have on floor 1, and it's going to give a footer that lists the title, the count, and the totals. And I'm going to click OK at that point. And now I have my schedules by mark. It tells me that on level 1, I have 37 doors. And it tells me the width and the height and everything. Okay. So once I'm here, I can edit elements and I can edit parameters of elements through the schedule, or I can find elements through a schedule. I can find them in the model. So for example, these doors, they don't have a mark. So I'm going to click on it and I can choose highlight in the model. Boom. There it is. When you get this show element in view, your right action at that point, being fair to Revit, and I'm very much towards fairness, should be to close out of that dialog box at that point. Because if you say show, is as if you're telling Revit, okay, you found the door for me in that view, but I want you to find a different view for me where that door is also listed. And it's, to me, it's kind of like sending Revit onto a wild goose hunt, which I don't like, right? So the mark parameter had not been filled out because it's a curtain wall. So let's imagine that I don't want to see that curtain wall in that schedule, and I can filter my schedule. So I'm going to go back to my door schedule, and I'm going to go to the filter, and I'm going to choose filter by give me a second. I'm having a senior moment here. Just give me 1 second. I hate senior moments. So I'm going to filter by by mark, and I'm going to say has a value. And I'm going to click OK. And that disappears, those two doors, because the mark value has not been filled out. So what is important, the important takeoff on that is that even though I said every element that is in the model can be scheduled, I don't have to schedule everything that is in the model, and I can filter out elements that are in this in the model anyhow, and I might not want them to be in the schedule, right? And there's, I mean, I've seen it handled in a whole bunch of different ways. So trying to move on, let me just very quickly add a fire rating here. So I'm going to say that the fire rating here for this door is a capital A. And because fire rating is a type parameter, read what it says. It says that this change will be applied to all elements of this door of this type. And I'm going to click OK. And you will see that all the elements of that type got that fire rating. So let me move on to a different schedule type. Let me just close out of this file real quick and change to another file that I have open here in the background. And I want to talk about a schedule that I created here, which is a schedule style. Let me tell you what I did there in prep for this webinar. When I went to the schedules command, right, I went and started a room schedule, just to give you an inkling of what I did there. But instead of creating a schedule, I created schedule keys. And when I create schedule keys, it brings me to this room style where I can create different key names, and I can define ceiling finish, floor finish, wall finish for my for a specific room. And then when I create the room schedule and I add to that room schedule, I go to the fields, notice that I have the room style parameter available to add to the schedule. And what that allows me to do is, for example, define that this guest room here, guest room 203, it is going to get the room 1 finishes, and it fills out my schedule. And that is a huge time saver. Okay. The last schedule that I want to show you and talk about is also related to the room schedule, and it's this room furniture schedule. What this schedule has, and if I go to the fields of it, room schedules and space schedules have the ability to have an embedded schedule on it. Where does it become useful? For example, in this hotel model, where I can have my room schedule that has the name, the number, and the level. I'm using the level just to organize my schedule. And then I go to the embedded schedule, and I decided to embed a furniture schedule. And I gave it, if I go here to embedded schedule properties, it opens up the same schedule properties for the embedded schedule, where I added the family, the type, and the count for the embedded schedule, which gives me this schedule here that lists get the guest room, and it lists the furniture that I have inside that specific room. Okay, so that is just a little bit of a look into the scheduling capabilities of Revit, what we can do with schedules. Schedules need to be created for each project, for each company. They're intimately related to your model, to the families that you put in your model, to the project parameters. So if you have been to my webinars, when I talk about templates, I always mention that you have to create your schedules and your templates, and you have to make sure that your families feed your schedules the way your standards demand or that your industry demands. And with that, I am going to open up the floor for some questions.
Thank you, Sandra, for that wonderful presentation. Let me go over the questions that we have. Okay, the first question is, can I exclude certain elements from my schedules?
Yes, yes. As I showed in my presentation, with the filter option, you can filter out certain elements that are in the model that you don't want to appear in a schedule. Most probably, I mean, different ways of handling that. You might want to create project parameters to create those filters, or there's a whole bunch of different approach, but the filter tab in the schedule properties dialog box is meant to help you out to exclude certain elements from the schedule.
Awesome. Next question is, can I export all the Revit schedules into Excel?
Yes, with a, as I mentioned, regular Revit schedules are all exportable to Excel. Electrical panel schedules, and if you see them in a project browser, you will see that they have their own node. They are schedules, but they behave as special schedules. Those are the only schedules that you cannot export to Excel. I feel that that should be a capability. If you know about the ideas forum that Autodesk has, I would put that as a request to Autodesk that those schedules can be exportable to, but that is just little me. I know that there's people that ask me that question if you can export panel schedules, but that is the only schedule that you cannot export. Yeah.
Okay, great. And the next question I see is, we add notes to our schedules. How would you do that in Revit?
Come again, Juliana, sorry.
It says we add notes to our schedules. How would you do that in? Yep.
Yeah. When you are in a schedule, you can add, let me go back to Revit, right? You can insert rows. Okay, so you can insert the row below that view, and then you can add nodes in this location. Okay, that is how you would do that. Cool.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see more questions. So I want to remind everyone that if you want to learn any of these topics in detail, you can take a custom training with Sandra or someone else on our team. This is our contact numbers based on region. And you also have there my contact down below. Also, we will be having next week corridor design and transitions with Civil 3D. So yeah, we highly encourage you to check our MicroCAD events. You have the link there on the right hand, I believe, and you can just check them out. And if you're interested in any of them and you cannot make it, we encourage you to register anyways, so you can receive the on-demand recording. So yeah, if we don't have more questions, I would like to thank you all for attending. And thank you, Sandra, for this presentation.
Thank you all for coming to my webinar, and I hope to see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.